Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder, as we are going to jump right into it, still kicking it with the Apex team. As you do see, my rating currently is at 1852, so after yesterday's episode, we were able to jump above the 1850s, which is great. So only 48 points away now from 1900, which is awesome. But as you remember, I was at around 1860 around a week ago, and then had a pretty terrible crash, mainly because of poor internet kind of dropping my games. But Kotaro Tech from Japan with a rating of 1727 is going to be our first opponent of the day. So win here would be great for our rating. With a rain team of Kangaskhan, Politoed, Kingdra, Thundurus, Ferrothorn, and Sylveon. So, pretty interesting rain team here. First of all, you know, the use of Kingdra over Ludicolo. Ludicolo was definitely the more popular rain pick in 2014 on teams like Ray Rizzos and Sejong Parks, but Kingdra here, you know, it is a bit stronger, I think, this year. My Venusaur here is going to be huge, though. My opponent doesn't have many great ways to really effectively deal with it, and it kind of stops everything. So I'm definitely going to want to conserve the Venusaur. Probably not going to want to bring Heatran, given that it doesn't have a good matchup against anything other than the Ferrothorn. But I am going to have to watch out for that Ferrothorn, because if left unchecked, it can really kind of beat me. So, let's see. I like leading, I think, with Gengar and Venusaur. That's what I'm tempted to right now. Though, I also kind of want to go with Gengar Suicune. The thing is, if I do lead with Suicune, though, I have to kind of be careful about the Thundurus lead. So if by leading with Venusaur, I can try to take out Thundurus before it really does too much. And I'm thinking Suicune and Bisharp in the back. Though by going with these, I don't have any good way to deal with Ferrothorn, so I'm thinking maybe I don't want to bring Suicune and I want to bring Terrakion instead. I think Terrakion makes a bit more sense here, even though it is weak to Kingdra's attacks, obviously, and Sylveon's. It at least gets a lot more offensive off, just because Close Combat can one-hit KO Kangaskhan and Ferrothorn most likely, and Rock Slide can hit everything for at least neutral bar the Ferrothorn. So, Suicune, while it makes a bit more sense in this match in terms of the defensive play, I just need another way to effectively beat Ferrothorn, because right now, I'm really relying on burning it with Gengar and using knockoff against it with Bisharp, which of course isn't even a one-hit KO. So, you know what? I am just going to lock in, and we'll see how this plays out. Now, it's interesting because I did go up against a rain team in the finals of Apex, you know, which I've mentioned a bunch this week just because that was this past weekend. If you have not watched the finals game, I will link it in the description below, but yeah, that was an interesting match. My opponent decided to use Mega Metagross in that, but my opponent here obviously opting for Kangaskhan as his Mega Evolution, as I'm gonna get Gengar and Venusaur off against Kingdra and Politoed. This is a decent lead matchup, but the thing is, Venusaur is pretty frail in terms of special defense, so I'm still going to have to watch out and be careful here. Another question is what item the Politoed carries, because it's very likely it's actually carrying a Choice Scarf, which is a pretty common item on Politoeds. You either tend to see the Choice Scarf variant with, you know, attacks like Hydro Pump, more on the offensive end, and then you have the defensive ones with items like Citrus Berry, Whack-and Berry, though that's not as common this year, Eject Button, which I do see a lot. Though the eject button is kind of more common with the Mega Swampert rain teams. So let's see what I want to do here. Kingdra is definitely the bigger threat. So I could just protect with Venusaur. Alternatively, I could just attack here. I think I want to Sludge Bomb Kingdra. Oops. Sludge Bomb Kingdra, Mega Evolve, and go for a... yeah, I'm just going to play it safe this turn and go for the attack here to scout out what items my opponent has. I could have protected with Venusaur, but I don't want my opponent to get too much offense off right from the beginning, and Venusaur is pretty threatening as it is, though, like I said, it's not very good in the special defense category. As Politoed going for the Helping Hand here, so we might just see a Helping Hand Draco Meteor into the Venusaur. Draco Meteor does come out, does target down that Mega Venusaur. I think he'll be able to knock it out. Let's see, though. I'm expecting the Life Orb item on it as well, as it does pick up the KO. So that was a really good first turn for my opponent there. Very well played. As I am going to be able to get a Sludge Bomb off here, but that's obviously not going to KO. So, you know, maybe I could have protected there with Venusaur. The Helping Hand Draco Meteor play was definitely expected, but there were so many things my opponent could have done there. But again, I should have conserved my Venusaur a bit better, just because, like I mentioned in the beginning of the game, it was probably one of the best Pokemon in this matchup. Which is why, you know, my opponent targeted it so aggressively. Let's see, that Kingdra's at -2 now. So I could just Sucker Punch it, but given that it's at -2, I think I actually want to double up into Toad here with a knockoff and a Sludge Bomb, expecting Kingdra to switch out, as it does switch out, so I do call that correctly. Now the question is whether Politoed goes for a Protect or not. As Ferrothorn comes in, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I'm not really worried about Ferrothorn. And I am going to get the double into Poly here, which is great. Let's see how much damage. That Sludge Bomb actually gets a crit and poisons the Kingdra, the Politoed. But it does have the Citrus Berry. And the question is whether Life Orb knockoff can actually KO it. If I didn't crit there, I don't think I actually would have brought it under Citrus range. As I get a double crit that turn. Kind of unnecessary. I think, had I not gotten either crit, Sludge Bomb plus knockoff would have just KO'd, since I don't think I would have brought it down to Citrus range. I was actually scared the crit was going to, you know, hurt me, just because it did put the, it did allow Politoed to eat up that Citrus Berry, but hey, I'm not going to complain. As Kingdra comes back in, and now I'm in a really good position, because I can just Will-O-Wisp Ferrothorn and Sucker Punch Kingdra, and there's not much Ferrothorn can do here, as it actually pulls the switch out. Interesting play. I would expect Kangaskhan to come in, but it's actually going to be Thundurus, which is why I'm glad I did bring the Terrakion in the back. Will-O-Wisp fortunately does connect with Ferrothorn. Let's see if it's Lumberry, which is a pretty common item on Ferrothorns. Nope, it's not going to be a Lumberry, so it's going to get a Gyro Ball off here, but that's great that it wasn't Lummed, as that attack decrease really helping me out there. Still going to play a bit carefully, though, because I do, you know, this Ferrothorn, I can't effectively take down this turn, and Thundurus is just annoying to deal with. Of course, I have Terrakion on the back. I don't want Bisharp to get KO'd, because it can just Sucker Punch KO the Kingdra on the back. So I do have to play safely here. That was a very smart switch on my opponent's end, but I think I had to go for the Sucker Punch there, because if I allowed Kingdra to get, say, a Surf or, you know, the more common move, Muddy Water off, he could have just KO'd both of my Pokemon, and that was not a risk I was willing to take. But, very smart switch on my opponent's end. Now, given that my opponent's Politoed had a Citrus Berry, I'm thinking I could actually just Sludge Bomb and Sludge Bomb and Sucker Punch here. And I think I'm gonna go for that play. If Thundurus goes for a T-Wave, that's perfectly fine for me, but it's not going to go for the T-Wave. It is going to go straight for the attack there, as Sucker Punch almost knocks it out. Just getting all these unnecessary crits this game, as Gengar does pick up the KO here at Sludge Bomb, so that's perfect. You know, I felt safe going with that play, because, you know, Thundurus, if it didn't attack there, basically would have probably gone for a T-Wave onto, say, the Gengar. But even if we got a Thunder Wave off, I just get a Sludge Bomb off, and you know, I'm willing to bet that was a more offensive Thundurus, given that, like I said, the Politoed had Citrus Berry, which is one of the more common items. If it is the most common item, basically, on Thundurus is that you see around. So, Kingdra's going to come back in here, perfectly fine with me. I'm just going to Taunt Ferrothorn and Sucker Punch the Kingdra. Kingdra maybe wants to protect it, but yeah, there was no way my opponent could have won, given that I had Terrakion in the back. So, I am going to end up winning the first game of the day. Pretty quick match, but definitely a solid game there. You know, the first turn was just so good on my opponent's end, but that's the thing. When you go for a play like Helping Hand Draco Meteor, you overextend yourself so much to pick up that first knockout that your opponent basically gets a free switch into anything he or she has in the back, and then can kind of predict you to pull off switchers or not. So, you know, I did expect that Kingdra to switch out, and in the end it worked out perfectly. So, rating of 1863 now, which is great. Over a 10-point boost from that match. So, only 37 points away now from 1900, as we're going to find a second opponent right away, my Anaconda do, Poland with a rating of 1814, so this should be another great match, as we've got an awesome team here. Cresselia, Rotomwash, Hydreigon, Conkeldurr, Mawile, and Dusclops. So the Dusclops is definitely the most intriguing Pokemon on my opponent's team, just because it is another Trick Room user, and obviously this team is very Trick Room oriented with the Conkeldurr and Mawile. So, the real question is what I want to lead with, because I can't just go with Bisharp. If I go with Bisharp and my opponent leads with Conkeldurr, then my opponent can just Mach Punch me immediately. I actually don't have many good ways to deal with this Conkeldurr, so I can already tell it's going to be very annoying to try to take it down. Yeah, I'm actually... This team is very Conkeldurr weak now that I look at it. I don't have you know, I used to run Pokemon like Sylveon, which of course can one-hit KO, and Sylveon is one of the biggest threats to Conkeldurr. Looking at my opponent's team, it is very Sylveon weak, but I don't have a great way to take it down, so... If I'm my opponent here, I'm going to lead with that Conkeldurr. I would personally lead with Conkeldurr or Cresselia, and the issue here is I don't have a good way to actually answer those leads. So this is already pretty tough. Let's see. And the thing is, Venusaur here is really great once I knock out Cress, but that Cress is going to be an issue because my normal answer to Cress is Bisharp or Heatran, and neither of those like going up against this Conkeldurr, which is probably Guts, so I can't, you know, just burn it either because that's just going to help my opponent out. So let's see. I'm gonna lead with Gengar and I'm really tempted to go with Gengar Terrakion and just Sludge Bomb close combat on the first turn, but the issue is I don't even know if that can KO. And I don't think he can KO, honestly. This is really hard. I have no answer to this. Gengar and... Okay, so I chose my Pokemon there. This is a really tough team matchup already, I can tell, so I'm gonna have to try to overwhelm my opponent by knocking out the Conkeldurr right away, but I feel like Trick Room is almost guaranteed on my opponent's end, so this is definitely gonna be a tough matchup, but you should never give up, obviously, because of your team matchup. So I went with Suicune here because it's the bulkier Pokemon, you know, it can just kind of dish out damage from the start, as we're going to see Dusclops and Conkeldurr coming out from my opponent. I actually don't mind that very much, because I can taunt Dusclops immediately. Conkeldurr here not going to really be that much of a threat, as the Dusclops does have Frisk and is able to scout out my item. So I'd rather see Dusclops than Cresselia, actually. Now I do want to knock out this Conkeldurr as quickly as possible. Now the question is whether my opponent's Dusclops is going to predict the taunt onto it, but you know what, I'm still just going to go for it. Because I need to try to deny the Trick Room, and I'm going to go for the Scald straight onto Conkeldurr. So this is at least going to allow my, deny my opponent from setting up Trick Room. Which is definitely good, as I need to try to just get damage off against this Conkeldurr. Scald doing a minimal amount there. Gets the burn, that's actually not good if it is Guts Conkeldurr, which I predict it to be, as it goes straight for the knockoff onto Gengar. Getting rid of my Focus Sash. And Dusclops does make an excellent play there, going straight for the Nightshade onto Gengar. So, very smart play there, predicting the taunt and picking up the KO onto my Gengar. So, definitely not the best of turns there. Let's see. I'm going to bring in Venusaur, and the thing is, right now, things aren't too bad, because that Dusclops is forced to Nightshade, but the main issue is, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would think that Conkeldurr is Assault Vest with the Guts, but Knockoff actually didn't do as much damage to Gengar as I expected, so maybe it's not Guts. I think I'm going to Mega Evolve, and I really need this Conkeldurr gone because Bisharp can help me win the matchup after I knock it out, so I'm just going to double up into it. But that was a very good first turn on my opponent's end. I was thinking of Sludge Bombing Conkeldurr, but the thing is, I needed to taunt Dusclops because now my opponent is not in a very good position with the Dusclops itself. As Conkeldurr is going to switch out. Great switch for my opponent there. What's coming in here? It's going to be Rotom Wash. Okay. So, I think I could have anticipated that a bit better and went for the Giga Drain onto that slot rather than the Sludge Bomb, because I just ended up going for damage output instead. But looking at my opponent's team, I think Giga Drain would have made more sense because it would have punished the switch in a bit more. But you know what, that's fine. I'll still get some nice damage off here with the double target, as Dusclops goes for the Nightshade onto Suicune. Of course, that's going to do damage equal to my level. Now this is tops. This is tough because my opponent can kind of stall out my taunt onto the Dusclops. If I were my opponent, I would protect with Rotom here. I get the feeling Mawile was my opponent's last one, and the Conkeldurr switch was really good. If I Giga Drain there, I probably would have been in a better position. I also could have anticipated Conkeldurr switching out, but no, this matchup is just really difficult to deal with as it is. So the question here is, do I predict Rotom to protect and go for... I think it's going to protect. So you know what, I'm actually going to Leech Seed the Dusclops, because my opponent doesn't look like he has any good answers to the Dusclops, or the Venusaur. And I'm going to go for a Snarl. Yeah, Rotom does protect, so... If there's any way I want to try to win this, it has to be, making these predictions. Though, and I actually could have just scalded the Dusclops there instead to try to pick up a burn onto it, just because, it's not like Dusclops' special attack means anything anyway. But you know what, I get a Leech Seed off, which is great. Just because Dusclops is a really annoying, bulky Pokemon to deal with, or as it is. As it is going to just continue to spam Nightshade, which is really annoying to deal with. I'm curious as to how fast that Rotom Wash is. I think Venusaur should be able to outspeed it, but Dusclops' taunt, as you see there, does wear off, which is a problem. I'm going to go for Giga Drain onto Rotom, and going to go for I'm not even sure if Giga Drain can KO, so I think Snarl plus Giga Drain will be able to KO it. Snarl should do enough damage just to put it before Citrus Berry, and then Giga Drain should pick up the knockout. And Suicune, if it, does outspeed... Okay, that Rotom is speedy, and it does get the T-Bolt off. And I actually able to survive that, which is great. Yeah, there wasn't much I could have done there. I couldn't have really switched out into Bisharp, just because Bisharp, gets punished by T-Bolts. As Snar actually does put that in potential Citrus range, so, I might have misplayed a bait, but the thing is, if Trick Room does go up here for my opponent, that actually ends up working out in my favor, because that Rotom is basically forced to stay in for another turn, as I do suspect we're going to see Trick Room coming out from the Dusclops here. Oh, nope, it goes straight for the Will-O-Wisp, though, onto Venusaur. So yeah, that was kind of a bad play on my end. Though, perhaps not as bad as I make it out to be, just because now I can actually potentially knock out both of my opponent's Pokemon on the same turn. That was a good Will-O-Wisp onto Venusaur, though, just because this Venusaur is currently really annoying my opponent. So we've seen Will-O-Wisp, Nightshade, I would assume Trick Room, maybe Pain Split? Though I feel like if it has Pain Split, it would have gone for it there. So let's see. I'm definitely in an alright position right now. I think I'm just gonna Giga Drain the Rotom and Scald the Dusclops. This Rotom goes for a T-Ball onto Suicune. Will that knock me out, though? Oh, it will, even with that Snarl. So that's really bad, actually. Yeah, I misplayed that last turn by not targeting out Rotom. Basically, I needed to knock out Rotom to force my opponent to switch the Conkeldurr back in. That way I could have Suicune and Venusaur to try to knock out Conkeldurr before Bisharp comes in. And that Dusclops does have the Pain Splits, so this is really rough, as look at all that it's able to heal. Yeah, I think Giga Drain would have been able to knock out the Rotom. I mean, it probably would have been a damage roll at that point, just because my Venusaur has little special attack investment, but now the thing is Conkeldurr's going to come back in. So unless my opponent misplays and brings in Mawile, which is not going to do, it's going to be tough to try to squeak out a win this time around. For my opponent here, I think he would just attack Bisharp. There's really no reason not to. So I'm going to Giga Drain Conk and just protect. As Dusclops actually switches out, okay. Into Mawile? No, Hydreigon. Yeah, that's going to be game. Excellent playing by my opponents and in terms of bringing in all the right Pokemon. Let's see. Oh, wow, that didn't even go for a Mach Punch, so perhaps he did just target the Venusaur with an attack. Let's see. Even if I doubled into the Conkeldurr, though, my opponent having Hydreigon in the end was basically a good game, but excellent playing on my opponent's end, doubling up into Venusaur. And I guess isn't Guts... It's not Guts, given how little that Ice Punch did. But there's really not much I can do now. I mean, Conkeldurr can just Mach Punch Bisharp, and he can just Draco the Venusaur. Sludge Bomb Hydreigon. Maybe try to crit a Sucker Punch onto Conk, but... Let's see. This game is basically over. I thought my opponent played very, very well. And yeah, Sucker Punch is not going to be able to knock out Conkeldurr there. Yep, it does go for the Mach Punch onto Bisharp. Should knock me out. And no, it doesn't. I actually hang on with 29 HP. Draco Meteor comes out. Does target down the Venusaur. And it's gonna. I was basically banking off a miss there. As yeah, that's gonna knock me out. Wow. I just had no answer to Conkeldurr and Dusclops, honestly. As Dusclops actually faints from burn there. So maybe I can win if this is like choice the Hydreigon. Though I probably should have not allowed the Mach Punch to even get off. As we're going to see Dusclops obviously come back here. Yeah, I shouldn't have allowed the Mach Punch to get off just because that puts me in Draco Meteor KO range anyway. I'm just going to protect a Scout, see what item the Hydreigon has because I am curious. But... Oh man, it is locked into Draco, so I might have just misplayed a bit in the end there. So I'm going to go for the knockoff. I mean, I have to bank off like 2 misses at this point. Yeah, I definitely misplayed. I should have just Iron-Headed the Conkeldurr instead of allowing it to get the Mach Punch off. You know, I was banking off the crit, but that actually wasn't necessary, so... Yeah, Draco's gonna knock out Bisharp there. But, had I not allowed Conkeldurr to get the Mach Punch off, I actually could have been able to win, since that Hydreigon seems like it was locked into Draco. So misplaying there in the end definitely cost me. I didn't really play till a best win condition. You know, the crit on KO onto Conkeldurr was nice, but since I knew it wasn't, since I saw how little damage that Conkeldurr was really doing, I should have just realized, you know, Mach Punch probably couldn't knock out my Bisharp. Actually, I'm not really sure what I'm saying. He would have gotten off the Mach Punch anyway, so yeah, it wasn't actually a misplay. I've been so caught up in losing that game that I didn't realize what I was saying. So apologies there, but yeah, even if my opponent, even if I Iron-Headed there, you know, Sucker Punch at least would allow me to KO the Conkeldurr before anything, so wow, I just had a total brain fart there, sorry guys. So I guess, had I been able to crit there, or had my opponent missed Draco, I actually could have won the match, but the team matchup was really dismal there. I had no answer to Conkeldurr, and the double, you know, predicting to taunt that first thing was really good. I think I should have doubled into Conkeldurr, but I just wanted to deny Trick Room. But this team, as you see, is very Conkeldurr weak, so I'm gonna have to go back and make sure I have a couple of answers to Conkeldurr in the future. But yeah, that was a really fun match, 2 really great matches for today, and shoutouts to my second opponent for having a very awesome team. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this match, this episode. As always, leave a like if you did. And yeah, that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you next time. Also, in addition, just a quick announcement. I don't know if you guys saw, but Pokemon's actually going to be streaming St. Louis Regionals at their Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Pokemon. So if you don't follow that channel, give them a follow, because that's the channel that streams Nationals and Worlds, and they are expanding to Regionals now, which is awesome. Commentary for VGC is going to be done by Scott Glaza and Evan Latt, who commentated Nationals and Worlds the last 2 years. They're really great friends of mine, so I'm really excited to be seeing them. And of course, I will be at St. Louis Regional, so it would be awesome to make it onto stream. But yeah, definitely follow that channel if you don't. Anyway, that's it for this match, guys, and I shall see you next time. Alright, peace.